He smiled at the divorce victory until the judge read his text messages aloud. Marcus Castellano stood in the marble lobby of the Suffolk County Family Court, his Patek Philippe watch catching the morning light as he checked the time. 10:47 a.m. In 13 minutes, he would be a free man. Free from the mousy woman he'd married in what now seemed like a cruel joke played by his younger, stupider self. He caught his reflection in the polished brass elevator doors and smiled. Armani suit, crisp and dark as a judge's gavel. Tom Ford cologne that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Hair swept back with just enough gray at the temples to suggest wisdom, power, maturity. At 42, Marcus Castellano was everything he'd always known he would be. Partner at Castellano & Reich, one of Boston's most prestigious corporate law firms, owner of a brownstone in Beacon Hill worth $4.2 million, and soon-to-be ex-husband to the biggest mistake of his life. Sarah. God, even her name irritated him. Sarah Castellano. Soon-to-be Sarah, whatever her maiden name was. He'd actually forgotten. Something plain. Something forgettable. Just like her. She stood across the lobby, clutching a worn leather portfolio that had seen better days. Her gray dress looked like something from a department store clearance rack. No jewelry except for her wedding ring, which she still wore, he noticed with disgust. Her lawyer, some public defender-looking woman named Janet Morrison from a strip mall practice in Dorchester, was whispering something in her ear. Sarah nodded, her light brown hair falling across her face. Pathetic. Marcus's lawyer, Richard Thornton III of Thornton, Whitmore and Associates, approached with the confidence of a man who'd never lost a case he cared about. It's done, Marcus. Judge Catherine Reeves is known for expediting these matters when the terms are clearly one-sided. Your wife signed the prenup. We have documentation of her. Let's call it financial irresponsibility. The separate accounts. The fact that she contributed nothing to the household income in the last 5 years. Because I told her to focus on her art, Marcus said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Her precious pottery. As if anyone would pay money for those misshapen bowls. Richard smirked. Between us, the judge will see a woman who lived off your success and now expects to continue doing so. The prenup is ironclad. She gets nothing except what we've agreed to offer in settlement. $50,000, and she walks away. No alimony. No claim to the house, the vacation property in the Cape, the investment portfolio. She should be grateful I'm giving her anything. The generosity will look good if she tries to appeal. But she won't. Her lawyer knows it's the best deal she'll get. Marcus watched Sarah across the lobby. She looked small, defeated, exactly how he wanted her. What Richard didn't know, what nobody knew except Marcus and the woman he'd been seeing for the past 18 months, was just how meticulously he'd planned this. The separate accounts he'd insisted Sarah open for her independence. He'd used them to make her look financially secretive. The art classes he'd encouraged? Evidence she wasn't committed to being a proper spouse. Every encouragement had been a trap, every kindness a calculated move. And now, the endgame. His phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa, his mistress. No, his future fiancée. She was waiting at the Four Seasons, champagne on ice, ready to celebrate. Soon, he typed back. 30 minutes, and I'm done with the dead weight. Court's in session, Richard said. Let's end this marriage. Judge Catherine Reeves's courtroom was smaller than Marcus expected. Dark wood paneling, high ceilings, the seal of Massachusetts hanging behind the bench. Only a handful of people present. Himself, Richard, Sarah, and her bargain bin lawyer, a court reporter, and a bailiff who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Perfect. The fewer witnesses to Sarah's humiliation, the better. Though part of him wished for a crowd, wished for everyone to see how completely he'd outmaneuvered her. Judge Reeves was a woman in her early 60s, gray hair pulled back in a severe bun, reading glasses perched on her nose as she reviewed the case file. She had a reputation for efficiency. No nonsense. This would be over quickly. We're here for the dissolution of marriage between Marcus James Castellano and Sarah Elizabeth Castellano, née Morrison, Judge Reeves said, her voice flat and professional. I've reviewed the prenuptial agreement, the financial disclosures, and the proposed settlement. Mrs. Castellano, you're represented by Janet Morrison. Is that correct? Sarah stood. Yes, Your Honor. Her voice was quiet. Shaky. Marcus felt a thrill of victory. And you understand the terms of the settlement? You would receive a one-time payment of $50,000, relinquish all claims to marital property, and waive any right to spousal support. Your Honor, Janet Morrison stood, and Marcus noticed something odd in her voice. Not defeat. Not quite. My client is prepared to contest the settlement and the validity of the prenuptial agreement on several grounds. Richard shot to his feet. Your Honor, this is absurd. The prenup was signed by both parties, witnessed, and notarized. Mrs. Castellano had independent legal counsel at the time. Counsel she met for 15 minutes. Janet interrupted. Counsel recommended by Mr. Castellano's own firm. My client was 23 years old, 3 months pregnant, and told that if she didn't sign, the wedding would be called off, and she would be left with nothing. Marcus's jaw tightened. This was supposed to be a formality. Sarah was supposed to take the money and disappear. Your Honor, Richard said smoothly. Opposing counsel is introducing unsubstantiated emotional arguments. The prenup stands on its own legal merit. I'm also prepared to present evidence of fraud, concealment of assets, and financial abuse, Janet said, and now Marcus saw it. The woman wasn't some strip mall hack. Her eyes were sharp, calculating. Evidence that Mr. Castellano has been systematically hiding income and assets throughout the marriage with the specific intent to defraud my client in the event of divorce. That's a serious accusation, Judge Reeves said. And completely baseless, Richard snapped. Your Honor, I move to dismiss. We have documentation, Janet said calmly. She opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Bank statements showing transfers to offshore accounts. Emails discussing asset concealment. And text messages, hundreds of text messages, that demonstrate Mr. Castellano's true character and intentions. Marcus felt his first flicker of unease. Text messages? He'd been careful, always careful. Sarah was looking at him now, and something in her expression had changed. She didn't look defeated anymore. She looked sorry for him. That made him angry. Your Honor, Richard said, his voice hard. This is clearly a desperation tactic. A last-minute attempt to delay the inevitable and extort my client. I'd like to see this evidence, Judge Reeves said. Your Honor, I must object. Objection noted. Counselor Morrison approached the bench. Marcus watched as Janet handed the folder to Judge Reeves. The judge's expression remained neutral as she flipped through pages, but Marcus saw her eyebrows rise slightly. Once. Twice. Mr. Castellano, Judge Reeves said, looking up. Do you have your cell phone with you? Yes, Your Honor. I'm going to ask you to provide it to the bailiff. We're going to take a brief recess while I review this material more thoroughly. Your Honor, Richard protested. This is highly irregular. So is presenting fabricated financial documents to a court, Judge Reeves said, her voice suddenly cold. Recess. 1 hour. The gavel banged, and Marcus felt the sound like a slap. The hour crawled by in the courthouse hallway. Marcus paced, his confidence fracturing like ice under pressure. What the hell is happening? He hissed at Richard. I don't know. But stay calm. They're phishing, even if they have some emails. I was careful about emails. Then there's nothing to worry about. But Richard didn't sound convinced. Marcus's phone, now in evidence, felt like a ticking bomb. He tried to remember what was on it. His messages with Vanessa were deleted. He was sure of that. Mostly sure. The emails about the Cayman accounts were from his work phone, not his personal cell. Weren't they? When they were called back into the courtroom, Marcus noticed immediately that something had changed. Judge Reeves's expression was no longer neutral. It was cold, furious, even, beneath a thin veneer of judicial restraint. And there were more people in the courtroom now. 3 men in dark suits sitting in the gallery. 1 woman with a briefcase that screamed, federal agent. What the? Marcus started. Mr. Castellano, Judge Reeves said, cutting him off. I've spent the last hour reviewing evidence submitted by Mrs. Castellano's counsel. I've also made several phone calls. Before we proceed with the divorce proceedings, I think it's important that we establish the full scope of the assets in question and the character of the parties involved. Your Honor, I must object, Richard began. Your objection is noted and overruled. Mrs. Castellano, I understand you have something you'd like to say? Sarah stood. She looked different now, straighter, taller, and when she spoke, her voice was clear and strong. Your Honor, I've been married to Marcus Castellano for 19 years. For most of those years, I believed I was married to a good man, a successful man. I made excuses for his late nights, his business trips, his gradual withdrawal from our marriage. I blamed myself for not being enough. Marcus sneered. Here we go? The sob story. But 6 months ago, Sarah continued, I received an anonymous message. Someone sent me screenshots of text messages. Messages between my husband and his mistress. At first, I thought they were fake. But then I looked deeper. And I found so much more. Your Honor, Richard interrupted. This is turning into a theatrical performance. It's about to get more theatrical, Janet Morrison said. She was actually smiling. Your Honor, with your permission, I'd like to read some excerpts from Mr. Castellano's text messages. The ones recovered from his phone, which he so kindly provided. Marcus felt his blood run cold. Proceed, Judge Reeves said. Janet picked up a printed document. March 15, 2025, 11:43 p.m. Text from Marcus Castellano to Vanessa Klein. The idiot actually thinks I love her. Can't wait to dump her broke ass and upgrade to you. Just need to make sure the prenup sticks. The courtroom was silent. April 2nd, 2025, 2:17 p.m. My lawyer says if I can prove she's financially irresponsible, she gets nothing. I'm going to make her open separate accounts and then use them against her. She's too stupid to see it coming. Marcus opened his mouth. Nothing came out. May 18th, 2025, 9:34 p.m. She's taking those pathetic art classes like I suggested. Perfect. Makes her look like a gold digger who didn't contribute to the marriage. God, I'm good at this. Your Honor, Richard said weakly. Text messages taken out of context. There are 247 messages, Janet said. All of them paint the same picture. A man systematically manipulating and defrauding his wife. But my personal favorite is this one, from June 3rd, 2025, at 10:22 p.m. The best part is, I've been moving money offshore for 3 years, and she has no idea. Even if she tried to fight the prenup, she'd never find the accounts in Grand Cayman. By the time this is over, I'll have 12 million hidden, and she'll be lucky to get 50 grand. I'm fucking brilliant. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Judge Reeves spoke, and her voice could have frozen hell. Mr. Castellano, would you like to explain why I shouldn't hold you in contempt right now? Why I shouldn't call the IRS and the Massachusetts Bar Association? Why I shouldn't forward these messages to the federal prosecutors I have waiting outside? Marcus couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. Your Honor, Richard said, and Marcus heard the panic in his voice now. I was unaware of any of this. I had no knowledge. I believe you, Mr. Thornton, which is why you're not in trouble. Yet, Judge Reeves turned back to Marcus. But your client is in serious jeopardy. The doors to the courtroom opened. The 3 men in suits stood up, and Marcus saw the credentials on their belts. FBI. Actually, Your Honor, one of them said, we'd like to speak with Mr. Castellano about those offshore accounts and some irregularities we've noticed in his firm's trust account management. No. It happened fast after that. Too fast for Marcus to process. The FBI agents weren't just there about his personal accounts. They'd been investigating Castellano and Reich for 6 months. Something about client funds being misappropriated, embezzlement, fraud, wire fraud, money laundering. And Sarah, quiet, mousy, stupid Sarah, had apparently been talking to them, providing evidence, wearing a wire. The recordings are particularly damning, one of the agents said conversationally, as if discussing the weather. Mr. Castellano, you really shouldn't have told your wife about the Kensington Trust account last month, or explained how you were skimming from client settlements. I never, Marcus started, but the memory hit him like a truck. He had told her, after 4 whiskeys one night, bragging about how clever he was, how nobody could touch him because he was too smart, too connected. She'd been sitting in their kitchen, making tea, barely listening. Or so he'd thought. We also have testimony from your former assistant, Lisa Chun, the agent continued. She's been very cooperative. Something about you threatening to ruin her career if she reported what she saw. Bad move, Mr. Castellano. She kept copies of everything. Marcus's phone buzzed on the evidence table. The bailiff glanced at it, then at Judge Reeves. It's from someone named Vanessa, he said. Read it, Judge Reeves said. I just heard about the FBI at your office. Don't contact me again. We're done. My lawyer father says I should cooperate with investigators. Sorry, Marcus, but I'm not going to prison for you. Janet Morrison actually laughed. It was a sharp, bright sound in the heavy courtroom air. "Your Honor, if I may," she said, "I'd like to add some additional context. Sarah Castellano née Morrison didn't grow up poor and uneducated, despite what her husband believed. She's the daughter of federal Judge Harold Morrison, retired from the First Circuit Court of Appeals. Her uncle is Thomas Morrison, the U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts. Her brother is an IRS special agent." Marcus felt the room tilt. Sarah gave up her career as a forensic accountant when she got pregnant with their daughter. She spent 19 years being the wife Marcus wanted her to be. Quiet, supportive, invisible. But 6 months ago, when she discovered her husband's affair and his plan to leave her with nothing, she remembered who she really was. Sarah stood again, and this time, Marcus saw her clearly for the first time in years. She wasn't mousy. She was calm, controlled, patient. She wasn't stupid. She was brilliant, strategic, dangerous. "Marcus," Sarah said, her voice steady, "I gave you so many chances to be a good person, to be honest, to be the man I thought I married. Every time you bragged about your schemes, every time you underestimated me, every time you sent a text message to your mistress mocking me, I gave you another chance to stop. Sarah, I'm not finished." The steel in her voice made him flinch. "You thought you were clever, hiding money in the Caymans, manipulating me with the art classes and the separate accounts. But you made one critical mistake." "What?" The word came out as a whisper. "You assumed I was too weak to fight back, too stupid to see what you were doing, too broken to put myself back together." She smiled, and it was terrible. "You were wrong about all of it." "Your Honor," Richard Thornton said, and Marcus had never heard the man sound so defeated. "I need to withdraw as counsel. Conflict of interest. I can't represent Mr. Castellano in good conscience knowing what I now know." "Motion granted," Judge Reeves said. "Mr. Castellano, you'll need new representation. For your divorce proceedings and for your criminal defense." "Criminal defense?" Marcus's voice cracked. "The FBI is charging you with multiple counts of wire fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering. The Massachusetts Bar Association will be holding disciplinary hearings regarding your law license. The IRS will be conducting a full audit. And your firm has already released a statement terminating your partnership effective immediately." "They can't." "They can." "They did. About 20 minutes ago." Judge Reeves looked at him with something close to disgust. "You did this to yourself, Mr. Castellano." 3 months later, Marcus sat in a different courtroom. This one was federal, colder, more crowded. His new lawyer, a public defender named Ray something, kept telling him to take the plea deal. 7 years minimum. Forfeiture of all assets obtained through fraud. Restitution to the clients he'd stolen from. Disbarment. But it was the divorce settlement that really killed him. Sarah got the house, the vacation property, the legitimate investment accounts, full custody of their daughter, who'd refused to see him since the arrests, and $8.2 million, half of everything Marcus had actually earned legally during their marriage, before he'd started skimming and hiding. The prenup was ruled invalid due to fraud and duress. Every manipulation Marcus had used to trap Sarah became evidence of his bad faith. Every text message he'd sent mocking her intelligence became proof of his character. Janet Morrison had played the text messages in court. All of them. The judge had played them again at sentencing. "She's too stupid to see it coming." The judge, not Catherine Reeves this time, but a federal judge named Harrison Webb, read aloud. "Mr. Castellano, it appears the only stupid person in this scenario was you." Marcus saw Sarah in the gallery. She was wearing a navy blue suit now. Expensive. Confident. Her hair was different, shorter, styled. She looked like someone important. Someone powerful. She was sitting next to a man Marcus didn't recognize. Distinguished, silver-haired, wearing a wedding ring. They were holding hands. Sarah caught his eye and gave him a small, sad smile. Not triumphant. Just pitying. That was somehow worse. 14 years, Judge Webb said, the gavel falling like thunder. Federal minimum security, eligible for parole in 9 with good behavior. All assets to be liquidated and distributed according to the divorce settlement and restitution orders. Mr. Castellano, you are remanded to custody immediately. The bailiffs came forward with handcuffs. Cold metal, heavy and final. As they led him away, Marcus heard Sarah's voice one last time. "I really did love you," she said quietly. "I wish you'd been the man I thought you were." The door closed behind him. The sound echoed like the end of everything. Epilogue, 6 years later. Sarah Morrison Hartley stood in the gallery of her art studio in Brookline, champagne glass in hand, watching collectors admire her newest exhibition. Her pottery had evolved over the years, large sculptural pieces now, commanding prices in the 5 figures. But she still made the small bowls occasionally. The misshapen ones Marcus had mocked. Those always sold out first. Her daughter, Emma, now 25 and a Harvard Law graduate, was holding court near the refreshment table, making people laugh with a story Sarah couldn't quite hear. Emma had Marcus's sharp features, but Sarah's kind eyes. She'd visited her father twice in prison, then stopped. Some bridges, once burned, couldn't be rebuilt. Quite a turnout, her husband Michael said, sliding an arm around her waist. He was a professor of criminal justice at Boston University. They'd met at a symposium on white-collar crime 2 years after Marcus's sentencing. He knew everything about her past, and loved her anyway. "I never thought I'd be here," Sarah admitted. "Not just the gallery, but happy. Really happy. You earned it. You fought for it." Her phone buzzed. A news alert. She almost ignored it, then saw the headline. Former lawyer Marcus Castellano denied early parole, must serve full sentence. She read the article quickly. Marcus had violated the terms of his parole eligibility by trying to contact former clients, attempting to practice law from prison, and showing no genuine remorse for his crimes. He'd served the full 14 years. "Everything okay?" Michael asked. Sarah deleted the notification and set her phone down. "Everything's perfect," she said, and meant it. Because she'd learned something important in those dark months when her marriage was ending and her carefully constructed life was falling apart. You don't need someone else to validate your worth. You don't need to make yourself small to make someone else feel big. And you should never, ever underestimate a woman who's decided she's had enough. Marcus had smiled at his divorce victory, but he'd forgotten that the game wasn't over until the final gavel fell. And Sarah Morrison had always been very, very patient. If you enjoyed this story of justice and karma, let me know in the comments. What would you have done in Sarah's position? Thanks for reading.